Imagine if every time you tried to tie your shoelaces, you did it while screaming at your feet, "Tighten faster, you lazy little knots." That would be ridiculous, right? Well, congratulations, because that is basically how most of us try to live our lives. We force, we push, we grind, we hustle, and then we wonder why our brains feel like overcooked lasagna. But Taoism, that ancient Chinese philosophy that has been around longer than your grandmother's fruitcake, comes swooping in with a deliciously weird solution called Wu Wei, which literally translates as non-doing or effortless action. And no, before you get too excited, it is not just permission to lay on the couch and say, "Sorry, boss, I am practicing Taoism, the laundry will fold itself." Wu Wei is about flowing with life instead of karate chopping it into submission, and when you get it right, it makes you way more effective than any productivity app ever could. So what is Wu Wei really? Imagine life as a river. Most of us treat that river like it is a treadmill at the gym. We paddle upstream furiously, sweating, swearing, wondering why the water keeps smacking us in the face. Wu Wei says, stop being a salmon with an attitude problem and just let the river carry you. Effortless action means aligning yourself so perfectly with the flow of reality that what you do feels natural, easy, and almost automatic. It is like those rare days when you sit down to work and 3 hours later you realize you wrote 5,000 words, cleaned your inbox, and cured your phone addiction all before lunch. That is Wu Wei in action. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but if I just float around, how do things get done? Excellent question, Grasshopper. Wu Wei does not mean doing nothing. It means not forcing. It is not about laziness. It is about harmony. Think of Bruce Lee saying, "Be water, my friend." Water does not try to bulldoze mountains. It simply flows around them, over time carving the Grand Canyon without ever needing a motivational podcast. Wu Wei is that same principle applied to your daily life, relationships, and career, except with fewer waterfalls trying to kill you. To understand why this works, let us talk about why forcing is such a disaster. Picture trying to fall asleep by clenching your jaw and commanding yourself, "Sleep now." Spoiler alert, you end up staring at the ceiling at 3 in the morning, regretting your entire existence. Forcing creates resistance. It is like trying to jam a USB stick in upside down. The more you shove, the less it works, and you always have to flip it twice before it fits. Wu Wei is the opposite. It is noticing the right angle and sliding it in smoothly, like a tech ninja who respects reality's geometry. The Taoist sages figured this out a few thousand years ago by basically sitting under trees and observing nature. They noticed that trees bend in the wind instead of snapping. Animals do not overthink their schedules, they just act when the conditions are right. Birds do not need life coaches to tell them when to migrate, they just do it. Nature is effortlessly efficient, while humans invented tax forms, 27-step skincare routines, and emails that say, "Per my last email." Wu Wei invites us to return to that natural rhythm, and science actually backs it up. Psychologists call it flow state, that magical zone where you are so immersed in what you are doing that time disappears, and studies show it is where your performance skyrockets. Athletes, artists, coders, even surgeons rely on it. Wu Wei is basically ancient Taoist branding for the same thing. So how do you apply Wu Wei without accidentally quitting your job and becoming a professional hammock tester? First, stop overcomplicating everything. Ask yourself, am I forcing this? If you are pounding away at a project, relationship, or idea that feels like chewing gravel, maybe you are pushing against the river. Instead, take a step back and see if there is an easier path. Sometimes that means waiting until the timing is right. Other times, it means shifting direction completely. A Taoist would say, "The sage does not seek to control the world, he allows it to unfold." Translation: quit being the micromanaging intern of the universe. Second, practice letting go of outcomes. This is brutal in a society that worships goals, metrics, and 5-year plans. But the irony is that when you obsess less about where you are going, you often get there faster. Think of dating. When you try too hard to impress someone, you sound like a malfunctioning robot. But when you relax and genuinely enjoy the moment, you come across as charming, even if you accidentally spill guacamole on your shirt. That is Wu Wei, charm through non-forcing. Third, notice opportunities that arise naturally. Wu Wei is about timing, about acting when the moment is ripe. If you have ever tried to peel a banana that was still green, you know forcing never works. But wait a day or two, and suddenly it opens like butter. In the Tao Te Ching, Laozi says, "By not forcing, nothing is left undone." In modern terms, if you stop frantically pulling on the metaphorical door that says push, you might finally walk through it without spraining your shoulder. Here is a practical exercise. Next time you are stressing over something, pause and ask yourself, what would this look like if it were easy? That question alone often reveals a Wu Wei path. Maybe it means delegating. Maybe it means changing your approach. Maybe it means realizing you do not even need to do it at all. Suddenly, you are not wrestling the task into submission, you are dancing with it like a chill Taoist ballerina. Now, let us be clear. Wu Wei is not an excuse for procrastination. If you wait for the universe to vacuum your apartment, you will be found in 2037 buried under a pile of pizza boxes. Wu Wei is about aligning with natural momentum, not refusing to move. Think of surfing. You still have to paddle and balance, but if you time it with the wave, the ride becomes effortless. If you try to force it when the wave is not ready, you just get mouthfuls of salt water and existential dread. Here's another modern application. In work, instead of forcing productivity through 12 cups of coffee and angry pep talks in the bathroom mirror, try setting up conditions that let focus happen naturally. Clear distractions, work on what excites you, and build rhythms that support flow. Studies show your brain works best in 90-minute cycles, so take breaks. Paradoxically, the less you force, the more you get done. Your boss might think you are slacking, but secretly, you are harnessing ancient Taoist magic. In relationships, Wu Wei means not trying to control people. Ever argued with someone until your face turned purple, only to realize they dug in even harder? Forcing rarely changes minds, but listening and flowing with the conversation sometimes does. Wu Wei is persuasion without pushiness. It is the art of planting seeds instead of throwing pumpkins at people's heads. Even in fitness, Wu Wei has wisdom. People who hate exercise often force themselves into extreme routines and then quit in a week. But if you find a movement you actually enjoy, like dancing, hiking, or chasing your dog around while screaming like a cartoon villain, it becomes effortless. The Taoist would say, "The soft overcomes the hard." Translation, having fun beats forcing. And let us talk about mental health. Forcing yourself to stop feeling anxious or sad usually makes it worse. But accepting the emotion, letting it be, often helps it pass naturally. That is straight Wu Wei psychology, acceptance and commitment therapy, mindfulness, even modern neuroscience all echo this. Non-resistance is not weakness, it is the secret weapon. Okay, time for a funny real-life example. Imagine trying to open one of those plastic clamshell packages that electronics come in. You pull, you tear, you stab it with scissors, and it still mocks you. You end up bleeding, swearing, and questioning capitalism. Then someone walks by, calmly peels back a hidden tab, and opens it in 2 seconds. That is the difference between forcing and Wu Wei. Or think of traffic. You can rage, honk, pound your steering wheel, and arrive looking like an unpaid extra in The Walking Dead. Or you can accept it, breathe, and listen to a podcast. One path is misery, the other is Wu Wei. Same traffic, totally different outcome. So why do we resist Wu Wei? Because we worship control. Our culture treats effort like a badge of honor. If you are not exhausted, are you even trying? But Taoism flips the script. It says effort that flows with reality outperforms effort that fights it. It is like trying to open a pickle jar. You can scream and strain until your eyeballs pop out, or you can run it under warm water for 3 seconds and twist it open like a hero. Wu Wei is the warm water trick for life. In the end, Wu Wei is not mystical, it is practical. It says, stop forcing square pegs into round holes. Stop treating life like a video game you must dominate, and instead, notice the currents already moving. Act when action is natural. Rest when rest is natural, and let go of the illusion that grinding harder always wins. Ironically, when you stop fighting, you often get exactly what you wanted, only with less drama and fewer ulcers. So here is the takeaway. Wu Wei is not about laziness, it is about efficiency. It is not about apathy, it is about alignment. It is not doing nothing, it is doing the right thing at the right time in the right way. Life stops feeling like a wrestling match and starts feeling like a dance. The universe has been grooving to this beat for billions of years, and you are invited to join without spraining your soul. So next time you catch yourself forcing something, remember Wu Wei. Be like water, not like an angry squirrel trying to squeeze into a vending machine. Trust the flow, act when it feels natural, and watch how much smoother life becomes. And that is your crash course in Wu Wei, the Taoist secret to effortless action in a forcing world. If this made you laugh, think, or at least reconsider screaming at your Wi-Fi router, drop a comment below and tell us where you could use a little more Wu Wei in your life. And do not forget to subscribe to XQ, Quick, Funny Explanations, for more fast, funny, and genius-level content delivered at the speed of laughter. Until next time, stop forcing, start flowing, and may your rivers always carry you somewhere less stressful than the customer service line at the DMV.